10 most haunted places in London. Do you believe in ghosts? Whether or not you do, this video should be of interest to you since you can't afford to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to whatever is believed in and about London. In our video about the most haunted places in the UK, we discuss the effect of the account of ghostly appearances on people. But where do your average ghosts hang out these days, if you believe in them? London, with its rich history, can identify with hauntings by spirits and spooky sightings. In this video, we compile a list of the 10 most haunted places in London. As you can see, these haunted locations have behind them centuries of rich history. 1. The Tower of London. We are starting from this because we really have nothing to add than announcing to you what many have said about the world-renowned Tower of London. You likely knew before now that the Tower of London was a prison for a century, arguably one of the world's most notorious. A lot of people, too numerous to be counted, lost their heads here. People you may well have heard of include the likes of Anne Boleyn, the Queen of England from 1533 to 1536, and Henry VIII's second wife was beheaded under questionable circumstances in the Tower. People claim to still see her wandering around with her severed head. Others claim to see and hear wailings and wanderings of within the walls what they thought were ghosts of prisoners who died there. 2. The Clink Prison. Let's go to Clink Street to see another prison full of hauntings. There is an old renovated prison here, recognised to be ground zero for ghoulish. The Clink Prison is rather notorious as one of the Middle Ages' most brutal prisons. Here, prisoners were often beaten and starved to death, all at the behest of the church. Please don't let us go back to how miserable it must have been just to be alive back then, as you see plagues and evil prisons. It was a living nightmare. The mere mention of Clink evokes imaginary sounds of the spirits. It has been shut for around 300 years now, yet visitors claim that they see ghostly apparitions of both guards and inmates, and even that of a woman struggling to remove her shackles. That tells just how haunted London can be. 3. Bruce Castle. Bruce Castle is a manor house in Haringey. Well, there was a murder at Bruce Castle in the 1600s. It could also be defined as a murderous suicide way back then. The lady of the castle, Lady Constantina Lucy, threw herself, with her son in her arms, from the top of the castle and died. Why? Her husband apparently kept her locked away and she wanted to free herself. This tale adds Bruce Castle to the list of the most haunted places in England. It's rumoured that the ghostly visage of Lady Lucy has been seen staring pensively from the castle's balcony. No reports of her son, though. He likely would have a few choice words for his mother, considering the gruesome circumstances of his demise. Bruce Castle and Lady Lucy's story should chill you to the bone. 4. The Tombs Beneath London Bridge. London Bridge is another London locale with another bloody plague pit. A whole lot of people succumbed to the dreadful bubonic plague in those days. The deceased were customarily given mass burials. The tombs beneath London Bridge were among the graves where they were dumped en masse. London Bridge itself bears the throes of the unsettling journey through thousands of years of betrayers and bloody conflicts that have taken place in and around the bridge. Those of you looking for scary things to do in the capital city can take a trip down to these eerie tombs. But brace yourself for a chilling stroll, because it is not for the faint-hearted. Shadows reportedly move from room to room down there. The ghost of young woman Emily is also said to wander around. 5. Room 333, Langham Hotel. Now to another home of hospitality, Langham Hotel. There is a room in this 5-star hotel in the district of Marylebone that is haunted. If you love a nice haunted hotel room, kindly book room 333 of the Langham Hotel to see all kinds of spooky. Lodgers have told the stories of several ghosts spotted in the room. Both budding ghost hunters and even more skeptical journalists are said to have confirmed it. 6. Queen's House. The next place is Greenwich. Queen's House, one of the most important buildings in the architectural history of Britain, is a former royal residence. It was built between 1616 and 1635, architect by Inigo Jones. Built near the now demolished Greenwich Palace, it presently forms a focal point of what is now the Old Royal Naval College. We discover that this Greenwich's Queen's House is the location of one of Britain's most famous ghost photos, and we love to share that with you. A retired Canadian reverend and his wife reportedly visited the location back in the 60s. He was so enthralled by the staircase that he decided to take a photo of it. Little did the reverend know that two ghostly apparitions were ascending the stairs when he took the shot. 7. Ragged School Museum. Another place considered one of the 10 most haunted places in London is a museum on Copperfield Road. It used to be a school educating children from poorer communities in East London. Education back then was so terrifying that those school children were terrified to death. Visitors to the Ragged School today can learn a lot about the structure of the education system back then. We just hope you too would not be terrified by screams and creepy kid laughs that some say they heard echoing throughout the building's halls. If there's one thing creepier than an old school, it's that which is filled with ghost children. 8. Highgate Cemetery. The fear of the dead usually earns cemeteries some awe. Now, the Highgate Cemetery, which is a place of burial in North London, designed by architect Stephen Geary, has stories of haunts. About 170,000 people have been buried in and around 53,000 graves in the cemetery. If there is anything a ghost hunter wants to know, Highgate Cemetery has a lot of creepy paranormal activities surrounding it, they say. It has had its share of spooky shenanigans. In the 70s, a creepy man was reportedly spotted by locals wandering the area. Sean Manchester, a local magician, decided, in his deep wisdom and experience, that the figure must be a vampire. A vampire hanging around a cemetery? Should they not go to the living? Don't they like to drink blood anymore? The failure of Mr. Manchester to track down any vampire led to the conclusion that figures around cemeteries were ghosts of thousands of people buried there, the most popular among whom was Karl Marx. 9. The 10 Bells Pub. You surely know what a pub looks like, and you don't need to be shown a picture of one. But what about the 10 Bells Pub? This one might ring a bell. If it doesn't, what about Jack the Ripper? Yep, that was what the initial nomenclature known by all. Now you're there. Old Jack. This brings us back to the 90s when the landlord claimed that the ghost of Annie Champman had possessed the pub. Okay, let's bring you up to speed. Annie Champman was one of the victims of the Ripper, for those of you who may not know. Those who have claimed to see ghosts within the walls of the pub thought the ghosts were Annie Champman's displaying poltergeist activities. Tables were reportedly flying and chairs moving. Could there be something in the barrels? Is there something more sinister afoot? 10. Liverpool Street Station. Rounding off, we find Liverpool Street generally regarded as one of the most haunted places in the city with its own spooky goings-on. Yes, it is one of the largest transport hubs in London. Still, workers at Liverpool Street Station have reported seeing an unidentified man in workers' overalls waiting on the Central Line platform in the evenings after the station has already shut. Who could this be? Or more appropriately, who was he? Where was he coming from and going, and how did he pass? Could this be the man? These are some of the questions raging in the terrified minds of those who reportedly sighted him. Late-night tube rides have also been reportedly full of horror experiences in London. Besides that, however, not too long ago, a burial pit filled with people who had succumbed to the Great Plague was discovered beneath the station. Discussions of ghosts are anything but new. We've already established that. But what is your take on the supposedly haunted locales? Please, let's continue this discussion in the comments section. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.